You're watching ASOTU CON 2024, presented in collaboration with Reynolds and Goobagoo.
Now, without any further ado, we're going to have a great conversation today about proven strategies for growing your dealership's fixed operations with TVI MarketPro3. Joining us is David Willard, TVI Regional Sales Manager, Eric Hawks, Fixed Ops Specialist, Steve Sarecky, General Manager of King Kia of Laurel, and Matt Stradone, Parts and Service Director with Coons Ford Mazda. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you kindly. So, we may as well roll to the next one, please, sir. Eric, have at it.
So what we've done, we've broken down 3 pillars for growth. What we're interested in, what we work on is getting more ROs into your shop, getting more in your service lane, increasing business. So we've identified 3 different pillars that will help us do that. First is improve your retention. Keep your customers coming back. And the more often, with more frequency, the more that'll fill up your shop. The other one is finding new opportunities, conquest customers. How do we find them? Where do we get them from? Once we get them in the door, we watch them, see how they continue to grow within your store with subsequent visits. And the other one is improve your digital visibility. Get in front of the customer, not only with direct marketing, but through the internet, through the phone, any way we can get in front of them.
So as far as, I think it's on. Is it on?
Hold it closer to your mouth.
So if you're, as far as visits per year, average customer is 1.6 times per year. If you can get that client to come in 1.7 times per year, in an average store for us is 50 ROs a day, you will see an increase of 1,000 customer pay ROs per year, which is a 6.25 annual increase. And, one more time, please, sir. Conversely, if the 1.6 falls to 1.5, you go down by 1,000. So from a customer retention standpoint, that's obviously the financial impact.
So the question is how to get increased visits. One of the ways that we've identified, and Matt, I'd love you to speak about this if you would, is mobile service and pickup and delivery. Now, your dealerships do it for both Ford and Mazda, is that correct?
Yes, we run mobile service and complimentary pickup and delivery for Mazda franchise, Ford, as well as Lincoln. Obviously, with mobile service, pickup and delivery, these are convenience-based options, right? So if you're looking to increase frequency, lower the intervals in between the time that the customer comes in from traditional, normal service operations, using these remote experiences, if you will, you're going to take away the hurdles of the inconvenience of coming in, bringing your vehicle in for service. Somebody might put that service off a couple weeks, maybe a month, whatever, work it around their schedule because it's frankly inconvenient to bring your vehicle into service typically. So having those options out there definitely takes those obstacles out of the way, which could increase your frequency, right? You can get that customer in shorter intervals because there's no excuse. We'll send a mobile van out to your house when it's convenient for you, do the whole service, get everything completed.
And Ford was a pioneer in this, correct? As a manufacturer, they were pushing it, and you've taken this and you've put it to your Mazda customers as well. It is an investment, correct? You have to get technicians, you have to get the van, the liveries, the tools in the vans, but you found the value in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we signed up for that program when it was first introduced. It was controversial, I would say. There weren't a lot of people that were too excited about it. I've heard all different kinds of opinions from many different dealers, many different reps, and I've heard kind of all of the reasons, and they make sense, and it's very different from your normal course of business. So if you're running a traditional service department and you start talking about things like, creating a mobile service van that's going to leave your dealership, go to a client's home with technicians on it, and nobody else around, that's unsettling. And there's definitely some uncertainty in it. Now, we signed up, we see the value in it. I think the timing just coincidentally was convenient because that was right around COVID, right? So we signed up prior to that, but by the time our van came in, we were hot and heavy. It was June of 2020. So at that time, it seemed really, really smart. People were a little worried about traveling, being around each other, stuff like that. This gave us an avenue to get out in front of the client, keep them at their home, not having to travel to a store, sit in a waiting room with 15, 20 other people and knock out the service. So yeah, it was, there's definitely a lot of hurdles or, different expense worries that you would have when you look at
challenges.
Yeah, just challenges in general.
And Ford also, correct me if I'm wrong, gave initiative to help with the marketing as well, get the word out. And that's where we came in, and we did a lot of publications and tried to get it to your customers, let them know we have something different. Let's try it.
Yeah, we had already been marketing with TVI, or we were getting ready to market with TVI at that point. But really, every bit of marketing, right? We want everybody to know. Most people had no clue. You could walk right past a huge banner in our store that says, "We offer mobile service. We'll send technicians to your house." They'll walk right past that and not really know what that means. And you talk to them a year later, they've serviced with you 3 or 4 times, and they walk past that banner, and as soon as you mention mobile service, they have a big question mark above their head, not sure what it is or what all it entails.
And Steve, you're no stranger to this as well. Your previous employer, you had Ford, and Mr. Brian Anders, you guys employed that. And tell us a little bit from your perspective.
Yeah, we had 2 Ford stores that I oversaw, and also we did the same thing with the Chevy stores, and actually with our Hyundai store. But the Ford stores, we found that if you make it convenient, especially like you said during COVID, if you make it convenient for the customer, they're gonna. Why wouldn't they do their service with you? And it's in my career, we've always been of the thought that sales is great, and that's why we're all here to sell cars. But you can only survive the turns in the economy and the things that are going to happen if you have a strong fixed operation. Which is we started marketing with you guys to Conquest actually is where we found the big value. But yeah, mobile service is definitely a hit, and the guys that jumped on board are so far ahead of everybody else right now. Now the people that were out are trying to get in, and it's tough to get in when the ball's already rolling.
So our next thought was for retention, if you execute a sales to service handoff, that would also help retention. Thoughts on that?
Well, 100%. Anybody can sell somebody 1 car. But if you can get them to keep coming back to you and sell them all their cars, then you've done something. So to introduce somebody to the service department is imperative to make that happen. And we do things, most people do things like, get your first free oil change or maybe your first couple oil changes, but what we like to do is we bring the people down there, introduce them to the advisor, we schedule their first service appointment right then, and then the reminders can go out. We get them in, we don't charge them anything for their first appointment, and if you can get them to start coming into you, they'll keep coming as long as you treat them the right way.
But that's not a factory program. That's
just what we do.
Right.
But most people in the industry have some sort of something they do for their customer the first time. Whether it's your first free oil change or an oil change card or some way to get the people to keep coming back. And if you can get them to start, then usually they'll keep coming if you treat them right.
And Matt, we talked a little earlier about this. I would say one of the greatest challenges is getting the sales department to dedicate to doing this. Correct, Steve and Matt, to get them to come down the service lane, introduce, get comfortable, familiar, set the first appointment, maybe give them an advisor's card or do an introduction. Me being from the fixed ops background, I've always found it to be a challenge because sales, Steve, as you know, is more interested in selling that car. But we've heard some other conversations about silos and this and that and the other throughout this conference. And this helps the unity when we have a great transition, a great handoff. Matt, anything you want to say about that?
My personal experience, sales and service handoff has always been a challenge. I've seen it accomplished many different ways, and I've seen it successful, and I've seen it not so much. I would say that some of those, what we just spoke about, those remote experiences and having those types of offerings, as we were talking about earlier, I think that also adds to the value of that sales to service handoff. Why buy from us? Well, this is why you should buy from us. We're going to send the service team to your house. You don't have to come back for the first oil change. We'll come to you. That opens that conversation for the sales to service handoff a good bit.
So our next bullet point, so to speak, for customer retention is another opportunity to get a customer back more frequently is recalls. Steve, your thoughts?
Well, being a Kia dealer, we're familiar with recalls. Yeah, I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, 100%. I mean, most people that do a recall will do something else. So that's the important thing about a recall. Just because they're coming in to do a recall, you have to get your advisors to understand what they're really coming in for. They're not coming in for a recall. They're coming in to get this done, but there's definitely an opportunity to do some service while they're there.
We say 46%. In other words, 46% of the people that come in for a recall, you can also at least write a customer pay line.
And again, I know I said this before, but if you can get them to start doing service with you and you treat them right, which is the key, they'll keep coming back to you. And if they keep coming back to you and getting their service done, then why would they go somewhere else to buy a car?
So Matt, how are you chasing and lassoing recalls?
I mean, there's many different ways that we go after it. So the manufacturers also help us with that, and I think they're getting better and better about giving you some information and giving you, kind of a pathway to make it easier to track these down and be proactive about outreach to customers. Like, all of your marketing, if you're going in and pulling these lists and sending stuff out, a lot of times you get a notice in the mail from a manufacturer saying that you have a recall on your vehicle, everything's working fine, you don't notice any issues. That sits on the kitchen counter, you move on with your life. If we keep, putting that in marketing and pulling those lists of the vehicles in our area that are affected, then we can outreach, repeatedly and get those vehicles in.
So, go ahead.
There's just a few statistics on the domestic cars have about 40% open recalls. Imports, luxuries, about 12%.
The import was 17%, and Mr. Sarecky might take a little exception to that, based upon his comments.
And interesting, I'm going to add to that. When I started in this business as service advisor, I thought recalls were just, nobody in the service lane really liked them. I was like, why we got to deal with this? Customers don't want to do anything. They don't spend any money. And then I remember the general managers they were excited. They were pumped up when their recalls. Mm-hmm. Well, as I've learned, the value of the recalls, and we're talking about a little bit here, Steve, is you get that customer coming back and you take care of that customer. You write up another COD or CP ticket on it. They end up buying cars from you because they take care of them. So from the top, recalls, while they're a burden for the customers, are opportunities for the dealerships.
Absolutely.
Something that another way to increase the frequency of a visit is to capture or recapture the customers that you had in for service that have declined work. So if we can get them back in, so A, they don't go to the independent shop, they don't go to Johnny's Shade Tree shop, whatever it might be, come back at the genuine Honda, Toyota, Ford parts, whatever it might be. Matt, can you touch on this? Because we're working together right now in a program that you've put together, actually.
Yeah, we've tried many different things with decline service marketing. I mean, obviously, we took the time to look the vehicle over, prepare estimates, put everything together. We realize not everybody's going to purchase what the vehicle needs at that time, especially if it's not something that's immediate. But we don't want to follow up because, again, the work's going to eventually get done somewhere, right? We want that to be in our shop. So we're reaching out. We've worked on email campaigns. We've worked on text platforms. We worked on different types of follow-up. We've had BDC agents call and everything. So I think it's a constant process. Right now, you and I are working on a couple things to change it and see what we can get out of it. But I think as long as you're doing something, as long as you're reaching out, as long as you're being proactive with the client service, and that can definitely increase the frequency of visits to the store.
One of the things about customer retention that we all know is that we can do a lot of things to increase customer retention, but the customer experience has got to be pretty doggone good, and that is the bottom line to customer retention, in my opinion, and I'm sure y'all's. Finding new opportunities within the market, that's one of our specialties, okay, because growing your business, we feel like at the Kia store, identifying key owners who have never been to your store is a grand opportunity for you. Same thing with Ford, same thing with Mazda. And this will give you an example as far as what we see as a lost customer is somebody who hadn't been there in a year. Is that about, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. They haven't been there in a year. Most maintenance intervals are under 12 months. You should have seen that if they're a consistent customer. So, yeah, it's a huge opportunity. You always want to be going after anybody that you might have lost. You would find a lot of interesting things when you monitor the email returns and stuff like that. If you're marketing to these inactive customers, and that gives you an opportunity to correct things you might not have known have happened. Somebody might have defected from your store for something that you can easily correct.
The other thing that I'd like to ask is, from your perspective, you get a new customer that's never been to the store from a service standpoint, that gives you more people in your database, more opportunities to sell a car,
Absolutely.
which is a good thing for you. Now you can have it.
I'm good.
Oh, now you don't want it.
I'm done.
So as far as one of the things that we do that we like is, as far as our data is concerned, we think that our data is about as clean as it can get. And I did work for a major DMS company for a long period of time, so I've seen this on occasion, is that in your DMS system, you may have David Willard, you may have Dave Willard, you may have David W. Willard, and you may have Michelle Willard 4 times in one household. So one of the advantages is that we put people in households, so we're talking to a household as opposed to sending multiple messages to the same household. But as far as one of the things that we do is, what we're trying to find is national change of address. What are the odds of you having the right address for a given customer in DMS?
In the Washington, D.C. metro area?
Yeah.
Not that great. Not that great. It's a transient area. People move around a lot. I monitor a lot of our leads, basically the responses to, whatever leads that outreach that we're doing, whether that's text or email or whatnot. I monitor a lot of the stuff that comes back. A lot of people move out of our area. They come in, they're there for 2-3 years, and then they're gone.
So in other words, Steve, I assume you feel the same way?
Oh, yeah.
And then as far as the other thing that we do is, do you like marketing inside of your PMA, or are you more aggressive and would you go outside of your PMA for all the business?
Well, 100% you have to control your backyard. In service especially, people are only going to travel so far, but there's so much business in your backyard that you're not conquesting, which is what the success I've had with you guys in the past is. I went to a Ford store that in 3 years, I think we almost tripled the amount of business we were doing because we went out and conquested the customers that were in our backyard that we weren't servicing. We're about to do the same thing where I am now. The good thing about Kia is a lot of Kia dealers right now have capacity issues because of the thefts and all those types of things. So in order to get an appointment for diag and that kind of stuff, you might be out a week. Well, we don't feel like that's the best opportunity to.
Right.
So what we're going to do, we'll extend our hours, we'll work double shifts, whatever we have to do, to have the right amount of techs. We're going to go out and try to conquest all those people that can't get an appointment. Once you get them, you got them. So I mean, if we can think outside the box, go out and conquest the customers that are all in our backyard, then, that just leads to the good things.
And Matt, we've been on the program together for about 3 years, and that's how we set it up initially. Let's make sure that we've locked down our front yard and backyard. And through the maturity of the program now, you have the luxury with the increased business say, all right, let's go a little closer to this competitor. Let's
we're
go
in our
this
neighbor's
way.
yard.
Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing. And one thing that we haven't really talked about is our results information that we have. We can go on ROI and we can see where they came from, how far they drove and whatnot. So you spend your money wisely. You like to see how's the ROI from this zip code, from that zip code, and we're able to share those tools with you.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the program that we're on and what we're doing is the data that we can kind of sift through after the fact to see how successful it was, and that's always changing. So it's nice. I like looking at it so that we can see maybe this area that we've been marketing to for a while is kind of slowed up, and we're not seeing a lot of new VINs. There's mostly active customers in that VIN. We're not going to be as aggressive in that area. Let's shift some of our focus to another area, wherever the opportunity is. And because it is a transient area, you have to be paying attention. I feel like every few months you need to be in there looking to see what the opportunity is and make adjustments, as you go.
So we give you the flexibility to make the changes that you see best.
Yeah, exactly.
So our third point is digital marketing. So Steve, how long have the introduction was the sales side? In other words, digital marketing, pay-per-click for Google and Google searches and things like that for the front end. How long have you been doing that?
As long as there's been Google searches. We probably 20 years, I would say. We were early adapters. But I would say that it's as important in service too, because people, before anybody spends money doing anything, what's the first thing that anybody does anymore? I mean, even somebody my age, I still get on the computer. Can I? Yeah, I'm young. let me. If I'm going to I'm getting ready to rent a truck. Let me find out about that. If I want an oil change, let me find out about that. Oil change near me. Brake job near me, those kind of things. If you're not out there marketing those search terms for service, you're missing a lot of work. That's how the independents are getting it.
Well, and one of the things that we're an advocate of is Google My Business. In other words, having a Google My Business page for multiple departments in a dealership. Do y'all have, or is it just, you do have multiples?
We have multiples we just bought this store, we're about a year ago. So we're in the process of creating the different pages for this one, but our other stores have them. And I've always had them in the past.
So one of the things that we feel is important as a partnership, vendor, dealer, is that we're expressing the same message across all platforms. Could you speak about that, Matt?
Well, it's consistent, branding, it's consistent with everything. So whether you're really paying attention to it or not, when you get it, it's coming from us. You've already done business with us. And if they're, a lost customer or something like that, conquesting, it's gonna match. And each email, each direct mail piece, they're so similar in format that where it's coming from. So there's some consistency in your marketing. It's going to, I think, give you consistent results.
So one of the things that we think is unique to our offering is that typically in service, it has been Ford service, Kia service, Mazda oil change, Kia tires. And we think that the verbiage coming from the complaint, cause, and correction in DMS is what is a key to capturing more people in pay-per-click. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if somebody's going on and like you just mentioned and Googling, a certain phrase like you have here on the screen, air blows hot, my AC is not working, what's going to come up? obviously you'd prefer to be on that list, right? You want them searching, and then what's popping up there? Coons Motors popping up there. That would be preferred.
So Steve, you said the word, search words, we use keywords. What keywords are being said, and Dave touched on it. We look through repair orders, we look at the complaints, the causes, and then what keywords can we draw that to attract the customer when they get online. So we find that very beneficial. We're always refreshing the keywords. We're seeing how many are on the web page, and Dave, you're going to get into that?
Well, that makes sense in a way if you think about how people think. If you don't feel well, you get on WebMD, you put in there your symptoms, and find out you have brain cancer, because you always have brain cancer. But I'm sure that customers do the same thing. Well, man, my AC blows hot. Let me find out.
My car won't stop.
Right. Exactly. Right.
My brakes squeal like
Right.
anyway. So this is what we found. This is the percentages. 42% of the time you have a general search, a search for service, a search for an oil change. But what we're finding is you have oil, transmission, tires, wipers, AC, battery, brakes, check engine light, particularly a check engine light. I mean, because that's the only thing it's a check engine light. And that could be a pretty decent repair.
Yeah, you want your store in front of those search keywords, right?
So that's our idea is to incorporate some of those words as far as the searches as compared to just general stuff, and seems to be getting more hits. Now, one of the things that we would like to tell y'all is include that in your website, the verbiage in your website, because in other words, same thing. If you're searching a website, you may have wipers, you may have transmission, something like that. So we would encourage you to go as far as your website and include some of that content, so you get those hits too.
Any closing statements, Dave?
No, not any closing statements, except, gentlemen, we certainly do appreciate you taking time, because I know you have a full-time job. Well, sometimes you don't. But I know you have a full-time job, and we sincerely appreciate the time that you took this afternoon.
Any closing thoughts?
No.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right.